Welcome to another episode of No Butts About It. I'm Josh. I'm in my dining room in Indiana. Chus is in his basement in Pittsburgh wearing the Pittsburgh Pirates hat and a Minnesota Timberwolves shirt. Kind of got the
No,
vibe. Oh, that's
Minnesota,
the
Minnesota
Wild. That's the
Wild.
Wild. You're
Yeah,
right. You're right. Okay.
yeah. I like the Minnesota Wild, like
Okay.
hockey side, but I will never root for the Wild over the Penguins. But Wild are my second favorite team, just as Josh really likes his Indianapolis Colts. But I'm sure you probably wouldn't root for the Colts over the Bengals.
That's true.
So
I've gone to
that's
many
basically
games and rooted
yeah,
for the Bengals. So,
yeah. That's
um,
that's basically how I feel. I mean, go figure. I've gone to many Penguins and Wild games. Always wearing a Penguins jersey, even when I walked past Kirill Kaprizov. Um, at the most recent Penguin game where they played the Wild. I was very
and didn't get
sad.
his autograph because
No, I thought about wearing the Kaprizov jersey, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I wore my Penguins jersey, walked right past him while he was, I don't know what he was doing, but he was injured, so he was walking down, I guess, to his suite, but I walked right past him, and I I was like, and just very shocked. So just very disappointing, but yeah, so.
Well, let's talk about these quarterbacks during these preseason games, which I've got beef with the NFL regarding the preseason games because they keep scheduling the Bengals games on nights that I have to work, and I can only assume that it is intentional.
Mm.
So, the NFL scheduling committee and I are going to have a talk, but I'm going to miss the Bengals game again, but I'll rewatch it later.
Well,
But
that's disappointing. I
it
mean,
is
I'm going
disappointing.
to the Steelers preseason game tomorrow against the Buffalo Bills, so I will be able to give a deep look at the game, I guess, come next week whenever we talk about it.
Okay,
But
okay.
but yeah,
I expect a report on every rookie.
on every
Um
rookie, yeah, good
on
luck
every
with that.
rookie. But let's talk about not the Steelers, not the Bengals, a different AFC North rival. The Cleveland Browns.
Ah, the
They
Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
they might have actually done it. They may have drafted a quarterback who's actually good. They might have
And
done.
it just might be, and it might not have been a first round pick. It was
Yeah,
a
he's
fifth rounder. He's a
a
fifth
fifth
rounder.
rounder out of UCLA, 6'1", Dorian Thompson Robinson. But they, in Browns fashion, have screwed it up. They have Deshaun Watson still up there on Lake Erie shores. So I guess the question is, A, are you as impressed with Dorian Thompson Robinson as I've been? I think he has been playing very well in the preseason games, arguably the best of all of the rookie quarterbacks, in my opinion. And
yeah, I would probably agree with that, but keep going.
B, how short of a leash is Deshaun Watson on? I mean, they've got him on that huge contract, but last year he didn't really do super well. A lot of people said that was because of the rust. He hadn't played in a year. He had all of those legal issues. He's coming in. This year he's going to be elite. Browns fans seem really excited about him. I'm not really nervous about Deshaun Watson as an AFC North fan, if I'm being honest. I don't think he's going to be an issue for the AFC North. I don't think Dorian Thompson Robinson would be either at this point in his career, but I think he could be. I think based on what he's done with the second string receivers and the third string receivers, it'd be interesting to see what he can do with these first string guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it like nail on the head right there. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be any sort of big major threat coming into the AFC North. I mean, I get all the excuses and stuff like that for Deshaun Watson and stuff like that, but we've had multiple players and you know, just over the years where they'll get suspended and then they come in and they still play decently. I mean, I can even go back, I think it might have been Alvin Kamara or Mark Ingram multiple years ago when the Saints had both of them. And one of them was suspended, but whenever they came back, they still lit it up. And I go back to that as just as a small little tidbit of, stat based on that. But like, I feel like saying, "Oh, he's rusty and he had legal issues." Yeah. I feel like it's just a little bit of an excuse for Deshaun Watson right now. I feel like he should be at a lot better of a player. Go figure, considering he's been on such a high pedestal over the last, 6, 7 seasons or however many seasons. And, he did well in Houston, and I get that. But even with like those couple of games he played for Cleveland whenever he was back and reinstated and he played in the regular season, he really wasn't all that impressive, in my opinion. I don't really think he was anything very special. But DTR, he honestly, as you said, I think he looks probably arguably the best out of the rookies. I mean, I haven't really been that impressed with Bryce Young. I mean, we'll talk about Anthony Richardson a little bit. Um, can't really see, haven't really seen too much from Stroud and some of these other rookie quarterbacks. I mean, go figure. I mean, DTR, he had, I think, 13 completions out of 25 for like 100 and some yards and no touchdowns or interceptions in the most recent preseason game yesterday. But I think that he has a lot of room to improve. And I think his total stats off the preseason are like 328 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is very solid, considering most of these rookie quarterbacks usually have like 60 yards and an interception. So I really think that, he could be a very solid player over time. And I hope the Browns don't screw it up for their sake, but they probably will. But that's just coming from an AFC North guy. That has nothing to do with me dissing on the Browns organization. Actually, it is, but I am an AFC North rival, being a Steelers fan. I'm sure, you feel the same way, being a Bengals fan. So we'll see what happens. But I think DTR has been kind of impressive. Pretty impressed, even with the bad tie game yesterday that I got to witness. It was not a fun game to watch.
I was watching his film before the show, and something that really stuck out to me was his decision making and his ability to put it in a tight window. If he throws the ball, he's going to throw the ball. He's not like second guessing himself. He's not thinking, "Oh wait, this is going to be an interception," which is very uncommon for rookies. I feel like when we watch rookies, a lot of time they're still kind of nervous. They're like, I don't know if I can make that throw, especially the backups that are fighting for a spot on the team. Obviously, Bryce Young, he's kind of already been told he's going to be the starter. I think CJ Stroud, it's pretty much assumed he's going to be the starter, even though he's in that quarterback battle with Davis Mills.
Still think Mills could be better,
but yeah, I mean, we'll find out week 1 who they decide the starter is, maybe before that. But Dorian Thompson Robinson, DTR, he's not playing against Jalen Ramsey. He's not playing against Sauce Gardner. I get that. But he is also not a starting caliber quarterback right now in the NFL's eyes. So he's already making these throws, fitting it into tight windows, making sure he's able to lead his receivers so they have space to get some yards after the catch. I think if Kevin Stefanski wants to keep his job and Deshaun Watson is not doing well, I think Kevin Stefanski is going to get to a point where he is going to say, "All right, Deshaun, I know we're paying you like way too much money in guaranteed deals, but go sit on the bench. Dorian, you're going in. Let's see if we can turn this thing around." And there's this concept of late round quarterbacks. They're going to be career backups. Last year, the quarterback who led his team to the NFC Championship was Mr. Irrelevant. Brock Purdy. He was literally the last guy picked in last year's draft. Tom Brady was a late round pick. Where you fall on the draft board doesn't matter. If you put in the work and you're able to actually like lead your team, that's what you want. Especially the Browns, because they've had more quarterbacks than years I've been alive, and they've got nothing to show for it. They've got Deshaun Watson, who I'll admit was phenomenal back in 2020 when he last played for the Texans, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But last year he was suspended most of the year, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he has perpetually tied the Browns to that whole massage lawsuit thing that's going on. If he's not giving you wins, why would you keep him on the team?
Yeah, it really doesn't. It really shouldn't matter how talented he was 5, 10 years ago. I really think it matters about how well they're producing now. And go figure if I mean, obviously I know what the Browns are probably going to do. Obviously they're definitely not going to let DTR start week 1. Absolutely
Right.
not. I know for a fact it's going to be Deshaun Watson unless Watson gets hurt sometime in the preseason, hurts his little ankle or something, and then is out for 6 weeks. But I think what they would do is I think they would have Watson run through, and then they might pull a Steelers type thing where if Deshaun Watson isn't producing to that level that they want by week 4, maybe they're missing out on some like clutch plays. Maybe they lose to. Do you guys play them at all in the first couple of weeks? I know we do. I know we play them week
We
2
play
or
the Browns
3.
week 1, I believe.
Yeah, so we play them on Monday Night Football pretty quickly after you guys play them. So, like, if it's somewhere around there, and they're losing, like, some of these clutch games where it's like, oh, Deshaun Watson starts choking, or the Browns just in general start choking, and they're just like 0-4 or something, it might be a situation where they might throw in DTR. I mean, granted, I don't know if the Browns will. I don't know where DTR is going to fall on the depth chart. They might even have him below Dobbs because I think Dobbs is still on the roster. I think that's the second string quarterback or third string quarterback. I think it was DTR, Dobbs, and Watson. But
Right now, it is actually Deshaun Watson is the starter. Joshua Dobbs is second. Kellen Mond is third, and Dorian Thompson Robinson is fourth.
okay, well, I think it would be a really bad move to not have him a little further up in the thing. But granted, I get 5th-round pick. I get it. I mean, it was a different situation in Pittsburgh last year. You had Kenny Pickett sitting on the bench, 1st-round pick. Like, I get it. But, like, if he's producing in the preseason, he's doing well. Like, he might actually, cook with a lot of these, like, relatively better wide receivers in Cleveland. I mean, go figure. I mean, he's not going to be working with, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison over in Minnesota like Kirk Cousins will be, but at least he'll be able to, work with some wide receivers that are even better than the wide receivers that he's been working with in preseason. So, I mean, he has all the potential in the world to develop, and I would not sleep on him because if you sleep on him, he might just end up being the one to cook. But we'll see what Cleveland does. They haven't been the best with quarterback decisions, as we have learned over the last 15 years. But maybe this will be a game changer for them. Maybe for the Cleveland Browns, they will figure out that maybe they benefit from those late round quarterback picks instead of getting those first overall picks. Because, I mean, go figure. I mean, I know Deshaun Kaiser was a 2nd-round pick, but you had like Johnny Manziel. You've had a lot of these random quarterbacks come out of, Cleveland and stuff like that, and they just don't do anything. I mean, I guess besides Manziel, I mean, we talked about that. I mean, being one of the best over the last 15 years for the Browns.
Baker was one of the best.
Yeah, who did I say?
Manziel.
Oh, Manziel. No, not Manziel, Baker. But like you had Manziel, you had Baker, stuff like that. So Manziel he's out of football. So
how many games do you give Deshaun Watson? Like, just absolutely, let's say he comes out week 1 and he's just garbage, like 3 picks. Jordan Battle has 3 pick sixes on him or something. And
Bengals blow them out 58-6.
Him out. Trevor Siemian was the quarterback. All of the touchdowns were defensive. It's completely on Deshaun Watson. It's all his fault. Obviously,
it's such a bad. Yeah, I mean, it's such a wild hypothetical. But
I'm just saying, like, if he absolutely craps the bed week 1, then what do you do week 2? And like how much time do you give him? You're paying him. The Browns have Deshaun Watson until 2027, and they have guaranteed him $230 million with an average salary of $46 million a year.
That's terrible. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like, I get that he had talent, but like, why so much? Like, go figure. I mean, like, I understand all the random, like connections and stuff he's had with, all that legal stuff and those legal battles and stuff, but homie has not looked that solid over the last couple of years. I get, like, in Houston and stuff, he lost he lost DeAndre Hopkins, and he had lost players and stuff like that, and that team wasn't producing well. He wanted out of Houston. He went to Cleveland. Then he got suspended and he had all that stuff happen. But like, he's not as good as he once was. And I get that it's rust, but he is older. And
you're also forgetting he didn't play the entire 2021 season before he played last year.
Oh, you are right. He never
played in
the
2020.
He did.
With, I believe, Hopkins still on the team.
Okay.
Then in 2021, he sat out and had
So
the legal
that's-
issues
yeah.
and stuff. Then in 2022, the Browns signed him to $230 million total, guaranteed.
Terrible.
And I think that's honestly what is going to save his starting position.
But
I think Deshaun Watson could come out, do anything. He could go out and throw 5 interceptions, and the Browns organization would have to say,
he's our guy. We have to run with him.
We have to pay him. We gave him the entire salary cap.
Well, and I think the thing is, and I did forget about him sitting out. I totally forgot that he was battling all those legal issues and stuff. I thought he had played that season, but COVID years were just like kind of a blur to me for those seasons. I don't barely remember anything, I swear. But like Deshaun, like I think the thing is not only like sitting out and then getting suspended so late in your career and taking off almost practically, like, let's say hypothetically, a year and a half of like only doing reps and not playing. We've learned this with running backs. We've learned this with people just sitting out in general. It doesn't end well. And so under the circumstances, I understand why, he had sat out and all those different circumstances. But in this specific thing right now that we have going on in Cleveland, it was a terrible move to sign him to that huge of a contract. And if he doesn't produce, obviously, like if he's $230 million guaranteed, regardless if they cut him or not, he's going to get that money one way or another. And it's different from like a Steelers situation where it's like, oh, we signed Mitchell Trubisky. He was our starter, but he was only making, like a select amount of money. He wasn't guaranteed $250 million. He was only guaranteed like 12 or something. It was a very low amount. I was actually kind of surprised at one point, but nonetheless, I think it was a really bad move. And if they just keep, moving with Deshaun Watson, I'm sorry, Cleveland, good luck in 2028. Maybe you'll actually do something. Because you guys are in a really stuck position. Maybe Deshaun Watson, maybe if he doesn't cook, maybe he'll decide to retire in the next 2 years and you guys will get lucky. But right now he is not looking like a hot commodity. So,
well, we endorse the starting of Dorian Thompson Robinson here at No Butts About It.
Yes, please.
Yes, I want to see more from Dorian Thompson Robinson. Let's talk about another rookie quarterback. You already said we were going to talk about him a little later on the show, which is true. Anthony Richardson. We've kind of dogged on Anthony Richardson a little bit. We had said he maybe should have waited to enter the NFL draft, that that senior year is really important, that junior year is important. Maybe the Colts shouldn't have drafted him. Maybe they should have gone with somebody else. Maybe Dorian Thompson Robinson, who was available at the time.
No, I feel like DTR is he was meant to be a 5th round pick. There was no way that Indianapolis was going to go, you know what? Instead of drafting anybody in the 1st round, we're just going to go draft the 5th, 6th round talent.
That'd be like the Florida SEC
Detroit. Yeah, it would be like Detroit drafting like Israel Bandikanda, as we mentioned. Not that Israel Bandikanda is bad, but like, you're passing up on like, all of these other like running backs, stuff like that. You got, you're passing up on Gibbs and stuff, and but we're gonna draft this guy that didn't make it to the combine or whatever. So I mean, granted, I do think Bandikanda is gonna be really good, but that's not what we're talking about.
Anthony Richardson. I noticed something about Anthony Richardson. Well, first, before I say what I noticed, has any of the stuff that you have seen from Anthony Richardson changed your mind about Anthony Richardson? Do you have any? You were pretty rough with Anthony Richardson.
I'm still rough with him. I mean, his numbers don't look great. I mean, I feel like he has a little. He's shown me that he has a little bit of promise. But
where at?
Just like, I mean, I feel like he doesn't look too bad like on the field. Like I think he's making like decent like connections, and he's working he's working hard. But I mean, it's not nothing where I'm like, oh, this specifically is great. This specifically is great. I personally wasn't like really observing him that much, but I mean, I don't think he is some like, I don't think he's DTR. I can tell you that for a second. But I do think that he might be good. He could be. But I mean, his stats are just the same as like Bryce Young. And I mean, they're a little better than Stroud. Like, I mean, he still has that one interception. I mean, I don't think he's thrown a touchdown yet. I don't know if he's rushed in or not or done anything like that. I don't know what you've noticed. I mean, you do more of an in-depth analysis than I do. I usually just watch the games and, have a beer or something like that. But, you're doing a little bit more in-depth analysis. So
I take notes.
you do take notes. I see you writing in your notebook.
I do have a notebook. It's a good notebook. So what I noticed about Anthony Richardson is he's a Josh Allen type player, I think.
You think?
In his running ability. What I have seen from him is he is very hard to tackle. He has very strong legs. He's a big boy. He's not easily brought down, similar to Josh Allen. That being said, where he differs from both Josh Allen and Dorian Thompson Robinson is he does not make decisions. He pump fakes to no end. He can't decide where he wants to make the throw. And because of that, he gets sacked a lot, or he gets scared a lot, or he makes a bad decision and it gets intercepted. And when I was seeing that, when that was something that stuck out to me, it reminded me of his combine, I believe it was his combine interview. They asked him, what is the one thing in your game that you need to work on? And he said his confidence. He gets anxious on the field. And we had
didn't you mention that during the show at one point? I swear you mentioned that at one point.
Yeah, I mentioned it. If you go back to the around the draft, it was, we were profiling him. He gets anxious. He doesn't, he isn't confident in his throws, which sometimes causes them to be weaker or just wild throws, or he doesn't make the throw at all and then he gets sacked. Whereas to compare him to another rookie that we've already talked about, DTR, he's going to throw the ball. He's confident in his throw. Decision making, that will come with time. Maybe it's not always the best decision, but he makes the throw that he wants to make. He doesn't second guess himself, and you can see that in the way the ball travels. Anthony Richardson, he doesn't do that, and that kind of harkens back to the whole, maybe you should have played another year in college, get that confidence up there, because once you get into the NFL level, it is very cutthroat. The NFL is very much a next man up league, and not only that, you have Gardner Minshew, who has already been a starter in the league before, sitting right behind you.
So, and I mean, like I said, I think he shows some promise, but not enough for me to really talk highly of him to a point where I think, because honestly, all these rookies haven't really shown me anything other than some of the later round guys and stuff like that. I mean, these first round, these first round quarterbacks have been I mean, I get it's it's preseason. They might be doing better with their starters come week one and stuff like that. But I mean, Stroud really hadn't impressed me yet. I mean, I think Carolina plays tonight, so I guess we'll see Bryce Young part 2. I mean, none of them are really oh my gosh, this guy might be the next big thing. I feel like they're all going to be, mediocre to start, and maybe they'll light it up towards the end of the season, or maybe it'll be next season. I mean, you had to give Trevor Lawrence a little bit of the time to develop too. I mean, at one point I was like, oh, Trevor Lawrence is a bust. But then last year, he was very impressive towards midseason.
Very true.
So maybe it's a situation where, although they don't look impressive right now, oof, that was a bad voice crack. They maybe, even though they don't look real good right now, maybe they develop this year. And if they start halfway through the season next year, maybe they'll show a lot more growth. And who knows, maybe it'll get to a point where they actually do start lighting it up, or they only show minimal growth, and then come mid-season next year or whenever your timeline is for a team, and he's still not producing, it's that next man up, because I mean, obviously Carolina isn't going to give up on Bryce Young. Indianapolis isn't going to give up on AR. And I don't think that Houston's going to give up on Stroud. I feel like they're going to try to develop them and work with them. And I think it's going to probably be not this season, but I think by next season we'll be able to make like really fair, just analysis unless they end up lighting it up this season, which obviously I hope for the best for them. But under the circumstances of some of these teams, I don't really see it happening just because you look at some of their starting wide receivers and some of their starting players and these three teams specifically, I think you might have to give it a year or you got to pick somebody up.
The other thing with the Colts that I noticed during the preseason game that I watched, they were running the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Which, okay. My problem with that is they have like no running backs. Who knows where Jonathan Taylor's going to be? Zach Moss hurt himself on a jet ski. They got that like guy who was like a third stringer for the Steelers, I think, at one point. I forget his name now, but
okay, he might have been. I mean, it could have been. Was it like Snell? Maybe
it might have been. I gotta pull up their depth chart. They thought they were gonna get Kareem Hunt, and then Kareem Hunt said psych. So they didn't get
because I know we don't have Snell anymore. I know that our running backs are
Jason Huntley.
Oh, Jason Huntley. Yeah. Okay. Wow, that was not a name that I was expecting. Okay.
They have their depth chart right now is Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, Deion Jackson, and Kenyon Drake, Evan Hull, and Jason Huntley. Jonathan Taylor might not be playing. Zach Moss is injured. I don't know who Jake Funk is. Deion Jackson isn't a starting caliber running back, in my opinion. Kenyon Drake is kind of old. Jason Huntley and Evan Hull, I don't know much about them, but I'm going to assume they're not starting caliber.
Huntley was okay. I mean, I think he was like really far down our depth chart because he only played a couple of reps. So, I mean, he's definitely not somebody that I would be saying, oh, he's going to start for the Colts. I don't know if that would be a risk worth taking. I mean, and then even with Kenyon Drake, I mean, out of the ones that are able to play, he might be the best. But as you mentioned, he's old. And honestly, I mean, he didn't look phenomenal last season. I mean, he looked okay. I mean, he got some jobs done, but like it wasn't. I mean, granted, he had some competition he was going up against, but still, I mean, he's not the same caliber player he was back when he was in Florida. So,
yeah, I mean, he's also I looked up injury reports on him, and he has a history of having a dislocated ankle and a broken leg. So not recently, but still not the guy who you want to be a power workhorse back.
Yeah, especially if you break your leg and you've had dislocated ankle?
Yeah.
That is a wild injury. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I hear like dislocated shoulders all the time, dislocated, different thing. Dislocated ankle, that's gotta be something else.
So I don't know that this could be a situation where the Colts have to rely on Anthony Richardson's legs, like the Bills did with Josh Allen, and hope that they have at least a moderately scary enough run game that the defenses don't just crowd the line.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what their scheme is come week 1, but in my personal fantasy football opinion, unless you're doing like a dynasty league, even in a dynasty league, I don't know out of these 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are rookies this year if they're worth investing into entirely as starters just yet. But if you want to take that risk, I would recommend probably Bryce Young out of all of them. But I probably wouldn't recommend Stroud because, it's a very weird thing.
What? What is a very weird thing?
How often do Ohio State quarterbacks do well in the NFL?
Well, they keep trying to claim Joe Burrow. So he did pretty well.
No, Joe Burrow.
Also, I don't know if they've tried to claim Justin Fields yet or not.
I think they tried to, yeah.
Okay, so
statistically on the thing, because I was looking at some of these Ohio State quarterbacks, they don't do anything in the NFL. I think they did claim Justin Fields though, but even then, it's like,
So
I mean, because Joe Burrow is not Ohio State. He is not Ohio State. I don't care what Ohio State fan says that Joe Burrow played there for 2 years. Yeah, I don't care. Joe Burrow won the national championship with LSU. I don't look at his Ohio State stats at all. You slept on him. He transferred, and now look at what he's doing today. So honestly, I'm kind of glad he didn't stay at Ohio State because he probably would have been a terrible quarterback. I'm not going to lie. And I hate to say it like that, but like statistically speaking, Ohio State quarterbacks do not do good in the NFL. I hope Stroud impresses, but in my opinion, I would go closer to Bryce Young. Anthony Richardson, definitely don't draft him like first quarterback. Definitely draft one of those other quarterbacks. Have AR as like a backup somewhere. Don't do that. So
number 1 overall pick in my league was Anthony Richardson.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh my gosh.
It was Patrick Mahomes.
I was going to say, I was like, please tell me you're joking. Because like he's doing, and we're not talking about snake ESPN fantasy stuff. We're talking about like, you do it on Sleeper, right? Are you doing
this is a 24 round sleeper draft that has been going on all week. We've made it to round 12 so far. There will be a lot of picks. There's going to be like no one left for free agency.
I know. I did a sleeper thing and it sucks. And then they were just trying to make trades with me. I'm like, dude, why are you trying to make trades with me? The season hasn't even started. They started
Anthony Richardson was taken. I got to figure out where he was.
I mean, I figured he would.
He was actually taken first round.
Are you serious?
Someone took him first round, 11th pick. They took him over. Who was the next quarterback taken off the board? Deshaun Watson, and then Bryce Young.
Well,
and then Tua.
Who picked Deshaun Watson over Tua?
Yeah.
Boy, come on. I would have totally picked Tua over. I'm sorry. I mean, this is so off topic, but like, geez Louise, Tua is so much better. Tua is less of a risk than like any of those rookie quarterbacks, personally. But that's here nor there.
Bijan went after Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean,
so did Eckler and Kelsey. But
wow, that is so wild to me. That is all wild. But I mean, Kelsey, I get. Eckler's older. I mean, I get that. But like, still, wow. But
I don't know. It wasn't my pick. I have Joe Burrow as my quarterback. But
I'm in the pocket like Burrow.
Yeah, I am. Sam Howell. That was the next boy up on our list. Yes. He is officially the Washington. Actually, that's also news. They might be changing their name again. I don't know if you've heard about this. The new owner, Brad Harris, said...
Yeah, I heard, but go ahead.
They might be changing their name to something else, and that something else also might be the Redskins again.
That's what I heard, too. I heard that they are looking to possibly bring the name... I don't know when it would be, but they have talked about just pretty much nixing the Commanders' name altogether and going back to the Redskins name. Just because, originality, all of that stuff. But, I mean, it's more of like a trial and error type thing. I will wait and see, more or less. I don't know how the world's going to react to it if it does change, but...
Right now, they're the Commanders, and Sam Howell has been named the Week 1 starter. I don't know a whole lot about Sam Howell, if I'm being honest. What do you think?
Yeah, he was supposed to go a lot higher in 2022. I know that a lot of times people were saying he was North Carolina's quarterback. A lot of people were saying that Sam Howell would probably go a lot higher, like in the projections in 2022, like right around like during the Kenny Pickett era and all of those, quarterbacks that we've gotten, like Malik Willis and stuff. But during that time, like a lot of people were like, oh, Malik Willis is going to go higher. Sam Howell's jumping in there. And that quarterback class in 2022 was kind of wild because I think Kenny Pickett was the only quarterback taken in the first round, if I'm not wrong. And on top of that, it was very odd where everybody ended up falling because I thought for sure a lot of these quarterbacks were going to go in the first round. But Sam Howell ended up falling to the 5th round and he got picked. And I don't think he is going to be a terrible quarterback, but I don't think he is going to be some savior of Washington, but I mean, I think that he has potential. I mean, go figure. I mean, he was supposed to be like a top-rated quarterback in that 2022 draft. He just kind of fell off a little bit, and yeah, I mean, I do think that he can be good. I think he could be a really good starting quarterback. I'm surprised that they're running with him in a way, but also, what other quarterbacks do they even have in Washington right now? I mean, I don't really. Is it Jacoby Brissett?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the other one?
Yeah.
I would you run with Jacoby Brissett over Sam Howell? I probably wouldn't. I would try to see if Sam Howell will at least produce, because Sam Howell is still only a 1-year player. He only just got drafted last year. So, and Jacoby Brissett's getting a little older here. So,
Mm-hmm.
might be a good move here. I don't know what you've seen about him. I haven't really watched any of the Washington Commanders games or anything like that, so I don't really know too much about him. But I do know that it looks like in his 2023 regular season, I guess
This
he
is
was
the
11.
2023 regular season.
Yeah, so but like it says regular season, so I'm guessing as of right now that's preseason based stats. So 9 for 12, 77 yards, a touchdown, career 11 of 19, 169 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Not terrible numbers. I don't know. That's based on the extra yards and stuff. I don't know but it only shows what I know on ESPN at the moment. But definitely has potential. Definitely has growth, and we'll see what happens. I'm glad that he's starting though. There's not a lot of hype around him right now. I feel like a lot of people are kind of under the radar with Sam Howell starting. A lot of people are more focused on Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, that they've kind of just forgotten about all of our old buddies like Sam Howell. So maybe he ends up being that sleeper guy that ends up cooking. So
You're
we'll
right
see.
about that, because no one's talking about Desmond Ritter either.
Exactly.
And I think
that's
he
the other
has
thing.
potential to be the best quarterback out of the 2022 draft. But
I mean, he was supposed to. That was the thing about the 2022 quarterback draft. It was like there was like 6 different quarterbacks that they talked about could all go like top 10.
I said Malik Willis was going to suck and he wouldn't go in the first round, and look what happened.
Well,
that's all I got to say about the 2022 quarterbacks.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. Like, I mean, Desmond Ritter could be better than all of those quarterbacks. I mean, he's definitely probably going to be better than Malik Willis, no lie. But I mean, we'll see what Sam Howell does. Obviously, we've only seen one season of Kenny, so we'll see how Kenny does in comparison to all of them. But I do wish Sam Howell really well, because, I feel like nobody's really talking about him. But it really should be talked about, because even though he's not a rookie anymore, he still only has played 1 year. And by playing, it's only like very minimal,
So you're right, but I just feeling confident. So this is the final thing we're going to discuss. I don't know if you heard about it, but and I wish Stan would have been able to be here to talk about this. New York canceled their second joint practice against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they had their joint practice. They're playing tomorrow, I believe, or tonight.
I would say I'm gonna verify that.
I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. Pretty sure they play tomorrow. But
schedule. Yeah, they play tomorrow at 7:30.
Yeah, so Jets came in the Buccaneers came in thinking they were going to have 2 joint session practices. I think there was some tussling during the first practice. Second one gets canceled by Robert Saleh and the Jets. Buccaneers are mad because they're like, what the heck? We don't get a practice session in now, or what? And the Giants let them have a place to practice, I guess, across from MetLife. But the same thing, or the same time, like, are you mad as a New York Jets fan that Robert Saleh canceled that Jets practice? Jets are getting a ton of flack for this. I heard Peter Schrager say today that the Buccaneers might show their anger during the Jets game, and he's very well tied in with the New York teams, and he said that people there were not happy.
Did it state like because you said there was a scuffle? Was there like a reason for the cancellation? Because like I
I didn't
read an
see a reason.
article that said like it was like, oh, the Jets are looking to focus on their rookies or their players because there's a lot of boom or bust players this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel like that's a little BS to cancel because I mean you're gonna have other practices coming up. It's not just gonna be, oh, you have this joint practice. I mean, like it's a joint practice, and I think it will help develop these players if they are supposed to be boom or bust players. And then, like, okay, next week, if you don't want to do a joint practice with I think they play the Giants next week. If you don't want to do a joint practice with the Giants, who cares? Then don't do one. But like, Tampa's coming all the way in from freaking, Tampa Bay.
That
So,
was I think Jason is the McCourty brother that's on Good Morning Football. His point was basically these guys came in from Tampa up to New
yes.
York. They've been here since Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever.
Yeah.
And they booked a hotel. They've been paying New York taxes on food all week. Which isn't something we often think about, like the different
Mm-hmm.
taxes that the players have to pay while they're staying places. But I think that's a good point. And they're away from their families thinking they're going to get a practice in. And another thing he said for these young guys, say one of the Buccaneers players at that first practice just has a terrible practice, maybe he didn't sleep well the night before, something like that, and just doesn't do well. He pointed out that the second practice, he could come back. He could get his revival going on. He feel better going into that preseason game. Now he doesn't know. Now he just is remembered for that first practice. That's all he's remembering. So now he's got to prove himself to himself and his coaches in the preseason game. And the Buccaneers have some players too who are boom or bust players. They've got a quarterback battle going on.
Yeah.
They probably wanted to see how, if they got the opportunity, how Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask would face against someone like Sauce Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get that opportunity as widely now. They don't get the large sample size that they would have or would have had a better chance at getting.
I'm just shocked that they canceled both games or both practices. But
I
keep
read
going.
something that said they had apparently said they were going to do this back in March.
Oh.
And I guess the Buccaneers weren't supposed to be mad about this, but they are. So I don't know if either that wasn't true and the article was wrong, or if Robert Saleh is just saying that, or if there was just a lack of communication between the two teams.
So they were saying that in this article, they were saying that they had a scheduled joint practice, but in March they were planning on canceling it. Then come August, it was still scheduled, and then they canceled it.
So the article was saying that in March, when they got the like preseason schedule and everything, and like when practices were going to be, that Robert Saleh and the Jets had allegedly contacted the Buccaneers coaches and said, we'll do one joint practice with you, but we're not going to do the second one. We're canceling that. We're going to go work on our own thing to be with our own players. And the Buccaneers coaches at the time said, A-okay. Then come August, that plan comes into fruition, and the Buccaneers all of a sudden were upset about it. And the article was basically trying to say the Buccaneers shouldn't be upset about it. They've had this planned out the whole time. And that's why it kind of seemed like a biased article, and that's why I'm wondering if either that wasn't true or if Robert Saleh just said that.
I don't think it's necessarily true. I mean, it's hard to know just because we're reading it based off an article. We don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. I feel like it's kind of hard to really assume that just because, I mean, like, I get, okay, you want to focus on your guys and stuff like that, but they still canceled, and like it's still one of those things. Then why even like schedule it at all?
Yeah.
Why would you even schedule it back in March? Like, there's teams that have come in where they don't do joint practices. They just go in, they both play at different practice fields or whatever, and then that's it. I mean, like it's just how it is. So for them to come up and then have the joint practices get canceled, I feel like it's just a very odd circumstance because, like, I mean, the Steelers were playing Buffalo this week. I mean, I don't think the Steelers in Buffalo did a joint practice as far as I know. I mean, I might have been wrong, but I might have missed it completely, but I don't think they did a joint practice. But like I know in years past, like I know a couple of the years we've done like joint practices with like the Lions and stuff like that and the Panthers and stuff. So I mean, like we've done them before, but like you don't have to do them like all the time. So like if they didn't want to do one, then why even like bother to schedule one like back in March or however long ago it was? Why even bother scheduling it if you already knew you were going to cancel is my thing. So
yeah, I'd like to see how this plays out on Saturday or tomorrow.
Yeah, because I mean, geez, I mean, imagine like for the first like snap or whatever for Tampa, they just have all their starters in. Like it's just like
Baker's
Baker
just
Mayfield,
mad.
Baker's
like,
in there with like it's like Evans goes in and all of them they go in, they just start like just lasering this team and they play
Baker's
for the first
I'm
half.
gonna use my one good game a year on a preseason game. 400 yards right now.
Yeah, because they don't. Yeah, because they don't play them at all in the season. I don't believe so.
Kyle Trask is just like, well, I just lost the starting spot.
Baker Mayfield decides to pop off against the Tampa Bay, or not against the Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Whoa! I guess I'm a little tired
let's watch
today.
that. A little toxicity coming out. It's only the preseason, Chus.
No, I didn't mean to say that. The New York Jets. He decides to cook in a preseason game against the New York Jets. Somehow Tampa. Hey, I've heard a lot worse on compilations for TV and like media people. Like if you go on there and you look at like slip ups and stuff like that, they say some really out of pocket stuff. So for me to say this, I feel like isn't the worst thing in the world. When I'm sure in the Instagram comments for certain teams, I'm sure they probably have
We're
said
gonna get canceled before we even get started.
It was a stutter. I'm sorry.
Okay,
it was an accident.
You apologize.
It was an accident. I feel like that's all I need to say. It was a slip up. It wasn't meant to be in a rude fashion.
We apologize to the Buccaneers and
yes,
to anyone who was offended by that.
The OG Tampa Bay Brady-neers.
The Lady-neers?
Brady-neers.
Oh, Brady-neers.
Back in the couple of years.
Okay.
Well, I think I don't know if you have anything else for today's show, but I don't.
That was good. Dorian Thompson Robinson's the GOAT. Anthony
also prayers up for Alex Collins' family.
Yes.
And he tragically passed away. Yeah. So just prayers up for his family. Very sad, still very young, still had a lot of life ahead of him. Very, very sad. I don't know if they gave a reason yet. I just heard about it, but just wanted to send some prayers and thoughts up for that family, because that is a very sad thing, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on with athletes recently, a lot of social media coverage on a lot of stuff. So just with, obviously just as recent as DeMar Hamlin earlier this year. I mean, LeBron's son went into cardiac arrest. Just a lot of struggling, a lot of different things happening with different athletes and stuff like that. So just, they put on a show for us, but there's a lot of things going on behind closed doors that we don't know about. And we don't really know what happened to Collins as far as I know. But yeah, just keep him in your prayers. But I think that's all that I've got. That's all.
I also saw, speaking of athletes that have passed away, it popped up on my phone during the show that Dwayne Haskins' family the estate has settled with that driver who hit and killed him, and the owner of the company, because it was like a garbage truck, so the company. So that's been settled. Not super, I don't want to say relevant news, but nothing that's like earth shattering for the league at this point. But
it is good for the family. It is very good for the family.
For the family.
But yeah, I just keep that family in your thoughts, and keep the Collins family in your thoughts as well.
That show took a very sad turn there at the end.
Well, I forgot about that. I was gonna mention it like earlier on in the show, but I like totally forgot, and I didn't want it to go unnoticed because I did hear about it at some
Mm-hmm.
point this week, and I figured you saw it. I was going to send it to you, but
Yeah,
you know,
it was
just gotta
number one on Reddit.
yeah, gotta send it. Gotta send some love because I remember having him in fantasy. So rest
Okay.
up.
Thank you for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube at No Butts Show. Our social media pages are NoButts_show on Instagram and No Butts Show on TikTok. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. And if you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2, that's the number 2, at gmail.com. Finally, our spread shop will be in the description, so check out the merch. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, go do something nice for